Welcome to Jason Verney's podcast. I am Jason Verney. I want to talk about essentially the film Moonlight. First of all, I'll get the usual over and done with. I may not be a bit nasally this time. I may be a bit better health than usual, but I am a tad hoarse. No jokes, please. A little bit hoarse. Either from hobnobbing, and I don't mean the talking kind either, although that would make more sense, but maybe munching on a few too many biscuits throughout the film. Yeah, I know I'm not really a lover of the multiplex popcorn thing, but biscuits is my replacement. Biscuits, coffee, perhaps the temporary replacement for alcohol at the moment. Anyway, I wanted to sort of review this film as best I can without giving too much away. It's one of those films that the first time I saw it, which was actually yesterday, I'll come on to that in a bit. I saw it again tonight, second time. I didn't really know what to think about it. But one thing I just want to sort of backtrack on, as I often do, is I've seen this year, 2017, I've seen a few films on two occasions, twice. I saw I, Daniel Blake, twice. I saw Your Name, the Japanese animation film, twice, and La La Land twice. I might even see T2, Trainspotting, before it does its run a second time. And I may be even going to toddle on down to see a second screening of the Korean film. It's an old Korean film, but it's called Princess Aurora, which first screened at the KCC, Korean Cultural Centre. But it's screening in Deptford Cinema this Saturday, I believe. Not only have I'm trying to see films more than once if it really grabs me, or at least just to try and understand the film again or see it in a different light. And this time, talking about light, this is called Moonlight, and it's my second, I just made up a new word there, I can't even say it again now, but consecutive. So second, in other words, 2 consecutive nights. I wasn't really sure the first time I saw it yesterday, but I just something stirred in me. I guess much of today, and I was thinking about it, and I also watched a Q&A interview with the story maker, also the writer. Because it was a story, it's adapted into a screenplay, and it kind of made me want to see it again. And it's had a lot of hype, which normally puts me off. But I wanted to see it again a second time, so I did. Now, what I wanted to speak of first, what I wanted to do first was record this outside, because I was walking back from the cinema tonight, the Tricycle Cinema. It's actually Tricycle Theatre, but it's got cinema as well. I've mentioned it before. But I wanted to record it outside partly because the light outside, there's something romantic about it, I guess, or melancholy about it. The film itself has a lot of sort of natural light, but of artificial lighting, if you see what I mean. It's kind of lights, lamp posts or whatever. And I felt like that walking home. It felt like I was in the film, so to speak. But it also has brilliant colour. I mean, it's just whether it's the shots of the sea, which is highlighted quite a lot in the trailers, I suppose, or just the school life, the adult life, all of it's just really well, a really good mix of natural lighting and sort of, light that's used, light that's coming from something artificial. It was just stunning. I would say lighting and cinematography is pretty stunning, all of it throughout. The music was minimally used, not much, but it was brilliant. So classical, haunting, moving, and it's just I'm not actually sure. Without, as I say, I don't want to give any spoilers about this film, but it is kind of split into 3 segments. I mean, even saying kind of is kind of a bit too obvious. I mean, it is. I mean, all films lots of films, they have the 3-act structure. Even if you don't think it's there, they have a certain structure. I'm not sure if I agree with that all the time, but they do have that. This isn't so much that. I'm talking about it's certain segments. It's kind of throughout certain parts of a person's life, the main character's life. I'm not sure. I didn't actually think about it on the second screening, but I'm not sure if the music was deliberately different in each part to sort of represent that part or that moment in his life. But yeah, the film, it's really important film, really, because it's it covers growing up, it covers sexual identity, drugs, kind of gangs, I suppose, family issues, bullying, disconnection. Now that could be disconnection from a family, or not found, disconnection from yourself because you haven't found yourself. And there's a great bit in the film where, again, we're focusing on one character here who's known as Little. He's also known as Black, and he's also known as Sharon. He's kind of got 3 names that people use for him. There's a bit in the middle segment of the film where he shakes the hand of someone he's had sort of very close experience with. Again, I don't want to elaborate too much, and that handshake, to me, it spoke of connection, and it spoke of, he hasn't had this connection before. Even if the other person who he's shaking hands with doesn't see the same connection, he perhaps at that moment, and maybe that's what it's intended, this is the connection, this is his life connection. Maybe he's not got it from his other surroundings, not getting it from his mother. It's just that's what I read into it. But as I say, talking about the interviews I'd seen, or Q&As that I'd seen, one Q&A, I think it was the New York Film Festival, or a Q&A, a question and answer session that they had at that festival, found it on YouTube. They mentioned how the story came about, and there wasn't really a structure to it initially, but it was very autobiographical, and I didn't really think that when I first saw the film. It doesn't really matter if a film is or isn't, but obviously it's a bit more poignant when you watch it a second time. One thing that wasn't mentioned in the interview, which is the Q&A or the interview, which was I think it's a little Newsnight BBC interview. One thing that wasn't mentioned was that it looks like it had some funding or some co-producing by Johnny Depp and somebody else. And I've seen that in another film not that long ago. These big names can help out these films, I guess, with getting them off the ground, or maybe he believed in it pretty strongly. And I think there was some connection with 12 Years a Slave, the producers, and maybe that's where the Johnny Depp connection comes from as well, or where it's where it mixes in with it all. I thought it was a brilliant film. As I say, it's depicting life, but it's depicting bullying. It's depicting how a person grows up, or who doesn't actually maybe grow up until the end, or doesn't even, maybe he's never actually really grown up. He's still struggling with who he is. But it's a clever film. It makes you keep watching. There's scenes in a classroom where you think, there's one point where I thought, is this person who's actually kind of a bully? At first I thought, is he actually someone who's perhaps attracted to this main character? That was just my thoughts at the time. Maybe the way he came across, the way he dressed, the way he looked, the way he was smiling. But things can lead you down the wrong path. There's a couple of moments like that in the film where I thought it was going to go one way and it didn't. One thing I have to kind of just one niggle about it. I have that's niggle. I didn't use the word that's used throughout this film, be the N, where related to black people. Basically, it's kind of you could say it's a dream sequence. I really hate when films have to do that. Maybe it's the only way they can do it, or this one could do it, but it's just happened in nearly every film I see. You're misled, which I don't mind being misled. That's a part of filmmaking, but it's kind of in nearly every film that you see. Now, where was I? I was talking about the autobiographical. Yes, but I wasn't really sure about this film until I'd sort of slept on it, if you like. And then, the next day, today, I decided to see it again. I felt a bit bad, actually, because there was also a couple of screenings relating to Fukushima. Anyone will know that a few years back in the news, what happened in Japan regarding the nuclear power plant. There was a film tonight at SOAS, which was a documentary relating to that, I guess, touching on that. And also there was a drama film, a fiction film at the Japanese embassy. I was going to go and see that until I decided not to tonight. Partly because I wanted to see this film before it disappears from the Tricycle Cinema. It's going to be at the end of its run soon, I believe. And also, it's the surroundings. Sometimes you go to an embassy or go to a university like SOAS, and it's not going to be the most comfy place. It's a bit kind of, I suppose, sterile, but they're doing great things. They put on great films. They put on great talks. Always, fantastic causes. But yeah, I just wanted to. Maybe I was just feeling a bit lazy, and I didn't want to make that trek, which is not that far, but it's another part of London. I have to mention the acting. There's 3 different characters that play the main guy, Little or Black or Sharon, what you want to call him, whatever you want to name him, throughout the film. But his mother and 1 or 2 others are the same characters all the way through. And the mother, the actress who plays the mother, she's fantastic at all the different levels and all the different emotions, and whether she's battling with herself, battling with her own issues, or just trying to be a mother, or regretting being a mother. She's it's fantastic. What she shows us is great diversity in her acting. So I mean, this is brilliant for I'd say the black community, and that's a bit vague. I'm just trying to sort of, we know that there was a recent Black Lives Matter thing. We know that this is an important film. I mean, I wouldn't like to think that I've got anyone who doesn't think it's an important film as a friend. I mean, it tackles sexuality. It tackles the black community. Tackles growing up in the wrong end of town, the wrong social surroundings. It's really important in that way. And to think that some of it's autobiographical as well. It's you have to really. You have to see it. I think you should see it. I think everybody should see it. But again, you can't say that about every film. But talking about that, it's also good that there's another film out at the moment, Fences, which again based on a play, which is Denzel Washington directed and starring in, and Hidden Figures, another film regarding black women that played a part back in one of the space missions. I haven't seen either of those 2 yet, but it's good that these films are quite prominent at the moment. Of course, the Academy Awards, the Oscars, and all the other awards, festivals, and what have you going around, they all help to bring these to the fore. So, I don't want to make this too much longer. I didn't give too much away. I probably didn't give enough away, but I deliberately wanted to, you to see Moonlight for what it is. I recently reviewed La La Land, which has its own kind of Moonlight, in a fantasy musical way. But this is certainly not that same Moonlight. It's it's completely the opposite end of the movie spectrum, the opposite end of the life, opposite end of Hollywood, opposite end of California, sort of LA. It's just the complete opposite ends of the spectrum in how each of them are depicted. So I'm going to say goodbye. I will just leave you with, I don't know what I'll leave you with. I'm just going to say goodbye, and I'll speak to you next time. See ya.